283 COVID-19 patients reported from the country today. Army commander says there is no community transmission. GMOA charges that the Technical Committee on Eradicating COVID-19 has not convened in a month. Dayasiri Jayasekara reveals of political relationships with drug traffickers in Minuwangoda. Tiranalas released from the indictments in Radha case. Indictments filed against former Minister Patali Champika Ranawaka on motor accident.
Good evening. This is Primetime News on Election First. On to a more comprehensive look of those stories and more. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa toured in the Matle district to ensure the victory of the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna candidates today.
Meeting the President at the Galewala Children's Park, the public requested that a fair price be given for the onion harvest, which they expect to supply to the market. The President has also discussed with the farmers regarding the value addition for pepper in order to provide a higher price for their produce. Former Deputy Minister Rohana and Pavithra Bandara Tennakon also participated in the meeting organised by Minister Janaka Bandara Tennakon. The President then joined the meeting organised by Pavithra Bandara Tennakon at the Dambulla weekly market. The President commended the sacrifices made by the farmers of the area towards agriculture. The President was also briefed on the operations of the Rangiri Bio-Green Organic Fertilizer Plant carried out by the Dambulla Urban Council. It provides 3 tons of organic fertilizer daily to Mathale and Dambulla. The urban councillors have stated that if continuous support for the waste management project is provided, they will be able to produce the required amount of organic fertilizer for the entire central province. People have pointed out that the land disputes related to Sigiriya have not been resolved for a long time due to contradictory ideas between the UDA, Department of Archaeology and the Wildlife Department. They have also requested the President to complete the work on the cold storage as soon as possible. Meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa received a warm welcome by locals in Naula today during the public rally organised for Attorney-at-Law Lakshman Wasantha, who will be contesting the upcoming general election from the Mathale district.
As it was mentioned in your headlines, today Sri Lanka reported highest number of COVID-19 cases reported in a single day with 296 positive cases. They include 9 returnees from India, 3 from UAE and 1 from Pakistan, and 283 individuals at the Kandakadu Treatment and Rehabilitation Centre tested positive for COVID-19 today. Following the detention of 57 patients yesterday from Kandakadu, the total number of cases reported from the centre stands at 340.
The Kandakadu Treatment and Rehabilitation Centre in Polonnaruwa operates under the purview of the Defence Ministry. Around 1,150 people, including drug addicts, undergoing rehabilitation and employees, are currently housed at the rehabilitation centre. PCR tests had been carried out on all individuals at the rehabilitation centre after a prisoner who was brought to the Valikadu prison from the facility had tested positive for COVID-19. Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva said the rehabilitation centre has been transformed into a hospital to treat affected patients.
Sri Lanka Yuddha Hamudawa visin
a quarantine centre in Kandakadu that is managed by the army was transformed into a hospital to treat COVID-19 patients yesterday with the assistance of the Health Ministry. COVID-19 patients are now receiving treatment at this facility. There are nearly 1,150 people in both these facilities, including the number of drug addicts undergoing rehabilitation on court orders and the staff at the facility. We have received the test reports of 375 individuals. PCR tests were carried out yesterday and today on all people at the facility. All individuals are most likely to have contracted the virus.
කොවිඩ් ආසාදනය වීමට හැකියාව තිබෙනවා.
මේ රටේ ජනතාවට We wish to kindly inform the people that as we have undertaken the responsibility of eradicating COVID-19 patients in the country, the discovery of patients within this center is not a massive challenge to us. Therefore, as a government, we have taken all steps to prevent the virus from spreading further in our country. We wish to responsibly tell the people that due to the steps that had been taken to curb the COVID-19, we face a low risk of community transmission compared to other countries. The number of patients at the quarantine center may increase. In that case, we would limit it to that facility and take all necessary steps to curb the spread of the virus among the community.
Meanwhile, a councillor at the Kandakadu Centre tested positive for the virus in the Kottramula area in North Tandia recently. The councillor is currently receiving treatment at the IDH hospital in Colombo. Her parents are undergoing quarantine at the Kandakadu Centre. The medical officer of health in North Tandia, Dr. Upul said PCR tests have shown that the father had not contracted the virus. The councillor's mother is due to undergo a PCR test, while 35 people belonging to 9 houses and shops have been directed to undergo quarantine. Meanwhile, the Colombo Municipal Council today said that random PCR tests will be carried out in Colombo. Chief Medical Officer Ruan Vijayamuni said PCR tests will be carried out on the residents of Crow Island in Colombo. On the same lines, he added that 60 residents are expected to undergo PCR tests.
The Government Medical Officers Association has said that the technical committee headed by the Director General of Health Services to take steps towards curbing COVID-19 has not convened for more than a month. The virus has entered the community in Maravilla from a person employed at the rehabilitation centre. We have reopened schools amidst the absence of travel regulations in the country. If children do not follow medical advice in a proper manner, we are facing a threat of a second wave as it can spread among the country. During the last 2 weeks, the highest PCR test to have been carried out within a day stands at 1,600. If the Health Ministry had instructed to carry out 68,000 tests, why were only 1,500 tests carried out daily when there is an advice to carry out 2,500 tests? All those who came into contact with the patients must be subjected to PCR tests. Tests were carried out before prisoners had been sent to the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre. Those who tested negative had been sent to that facility. However, a patient has emerged from that place. That explains problems of not carrying out tests repeatedly. The future will depend on the decisions made by political authorities. A technical committee chaired by the Director General of Health Services that was appointed to make these decisions has not met for more than a month. That is very serious. We wish to warn that if we experience a second wave, we will not hesitate to divulge the details of those who must be held responsible over that. This is similar to hiding a rubber ball under the water. This cannot be hidden. We issued warnings over this. Our request urging the technical committee to meet has fallen to deaf ears. If 2,000 patients have been reported, with half of them being from the Navy camp, that shows that a mistake has happened. Why did that happen? What went wrong? Have we discussed about it? Would this situation have arisen if the people at the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre had maintained a distance of 1 meter? The Health Ministry is assuming that everything would be fine when the guidelines are prepared and published on the website. Political meetings are taking place, forgetting that COVID-19 had actually existed. A problem has arisen with regard to treating the patients identified from Kandakadu. They are trying to treat them at the same facility. All special treatment centers for COVID-19 patients have become vacant. There are very few patients. Against such a backdrop, they are establishing another treatment facility in Kandakadu. There is a higher chance that complications may arise due to this. If complications arise in the absence of at least an ICU, and if the patients cannot breathe, are there ventilators in Kandakadu?
Sri Lanka Medical Association said over-relaxing of restrictions for public gathering, operation of uncontrolled public transport, the widespread opening of recreational activities and many other maneuvers have probably paved the way to change the mindset of the people to abandon the very necessary control measures.
The current situation where very large number of patients reporting from a single cluster raises several serious concerns. One, It's due to the specific behavioral patterns of those who are in this cluster. Secondly, due to the possible connections with the community that those who are in this cluster will be having. Thirdly, still there is no definitive cause or reason of how this infection has entered this cluster. Therefore, there is a high possibility of community transmission. In this situation, Sri Lanka Medical Association would like to urge the government to reassess the current situation and strengthen the COVID-19 preventive strategies. We would like to request from the general public to strictly adhere to the epidemic preventive measures, such as avoiding high-risk situations where the crowded, congested places with poor ventilation, maintaining the physical distancing, strict adherence to the hygienic measures. This is not a moment to panic. Sri Lanka should be able to overcome this situation with a return to the correct preventive measures that Sri Lanka has been following so far.
Warnings issued by the PHIs on COVID-19 were disregarded, and to date, the regulations imposed for the control of COVID-19 are yet to be published via Gazette by the Ministry of Health. Likewise, COVID-19 guidelines are yet to be legalized in Sri Lanka. Election meetings and rallies organized across the country following the funeral of the late Minister Thondaman are mocking the sacrifices made by frontline workers. The guidelines regarding the election should be published via Gazette immediately, adding if this situation continues, PHIs will have to step away from their duties, considering their own safety, and force the Health Ministry to take sole responsibility. The children and teachers who attend the Valikanda Mahavidyalaya close to the Kandakadu Centre are in a state of panic. Security measures are vital when patients are reported throughout the island. There are 4.3 million students, 247,000 teachers and 15,000 principals. On the 27th, children will return to schools. Previously, the Director General of Health Services said the temperature should be checked and face masks should be worn when entering schools, but now they say it is not needed. We clearly say to the government there is a procedure implemented to be followed, but it is sad if certain politicians act irresponsibly.
Only around 600 patients were originally reported from the country. Others are people who came from abroad, from quarantine centers, and especially the patients from the cluster in the Navy. Please lend us your constant support. Maintain social distance, wear face masks, wash your hands with soap, do not come into physical contact with others, do not be part of groups.
එකිනෙකා ගැටෙන්න එපා, සමූහයක් හැටියට ඉන්න එපා, කණ්ඩායම් හැටියට ඉන්න එපා.
දැන් අජිත් මහත්තයා දැන් මේ පොලිසිය හමුදාව ඇත්තටම මහන්සි වෙලා මේ කොරෝනාව සංගතය මේක වැඩපවත්වන්න සෑහෙන මහන්සි වුණා. ඒකම දැන් අපි දන්නවා ජනතාවත් මාස් පළදිනවා ආරක්ෂක මුහුණවන්න පළදිනවා මේ ජනතාවගේ යුතුයකමත් ඉෂ්ට කරනවා. හැබැයි අපි දකිනවා මේ දේශපාලන වේදිකාවල මැතිවරණ රැස්වීම් තියෙනවා. ජනතාව ඒ ස්ථාන වලට එක්රොක් වෙනවා. ඉතින් ජනතාව එතන අනාරක්ෂිත තත්ත්වයකට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
දැන් අපි ලංකාව
Sri Lanka Police and the chairman of the National Election Commission are currently giving advice to police OICs. We visited Chilau, Kurunegala and Tangol yesterday. We will travel across the country. That is why we convene such media briefings as well. We saw many restrictions were lifted thinking that we had beaten this virus, but we have to carry out our affairs adhering to proper health guidelines. That is what we ask of you.
හේතු මේ සෞඛ්‍ය පුරුදු වලට මුල් තැන දීලා කරන්න කියන එක තමයි අපි ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ.
අදහසක් තියනවාද ලොක්ඩවුන් කරන්න?
එහෙම කිසිම අදහසක් නැහැ.
No, I don't think so. According to health authorities, a community spread has not started yet, but the risk has not receded yet. For an example, India is at a dire state. Therefore, what we need is the constant support of the people. We ask you to follow health guidelines constantly.
අකණ්ඩව පිළිපදින්න.
One of the main issues faced by the National Election Commission currently is health guidelines not being enforced effectively. These health guidelines were announced by the Director General of Health Services on the 3rd of June. But now, even after 5 months, these guidelines have not been legalized as rules and regulations via a Gazette notification. We have learned that the required approval from the legal draftsman and the Attorney General in this regard has already been obtained. President Rajapaksa has also given his instructions in this regard. However, there is a delay somewhere.
යම් ස්ථානයකින් මෙහි ප්‍රමාදයක් තියෙනවා.
Former MP Stalin and 3 other defendants named in the Reconstruction and Development Agency or RADA case were released from all indictments today. Colombo High Court Judge Pradeep Hettiarachchi made the order after considering the submission made by the Attorney General. The case against the defendants will not be carried forward.
The Attorney General filed the case on several indictments against the 4 defendants, including the criminal misappropriation of 200 million rupees provided by the Treasury to the Reconstruction and Development Agency for the construction of houses to families affected by the 2004 tsunami in the north and east of the country. The Attorney General filed indictments against former MP Shalin, Emil Kanthan as well as Salya Wickramasurya and Jayanta Dias from the RADA management. Court ordered for the passports of all defendants except for the second suspect Emil Kanthan to be returned to them. The overseas travel ban imposed on the defendants was lifted by court as well. Counsel for Emil Kanthan requested court to make null the arrest warrant issued by court. However, the High Court judge noted the request should be made after producing the defendant in court. Additional Solicitor General Dilip Apiri, appearing for the Attorney General, said action will be taken against the first witness from the prosecution, the CEO of RADA, Fernando, as the evidence provided when the case was filed and the evidence provided recently contradicted each other.
More from your top stories this evening. The Attorney General filed an indictment with the Colombo High Court against former Minister Patali Champika Ranawaka for causing grievous injuries to a person by rash and negligent driving on the 28th of February 2016. Attorney General filed the case considering investigation material produced by the Colombo Crimes Division with regard to the motor accident which injured Randeep Sampath Gunawardana.
The Attorney General filed a second indictment with the Colombo High Court against former Minister Patali Champika Ranawaka, ASP Sudat Asmadala and Dilum Tusita Kumara for conspiring and fabricating false evidence as well as giving false information to screen an offender. According to State Counsel Akila Jayawardana, the coordinating officer to the Attorney General, the second indictment contains 16 charges, and the main charge is relating to conspiring and fabricating false evidence to claim it was Dilum Tusita Kumara who was driving the vehicle which caused an accident. Another charge relates to conspiring to conceal evidence in order to protect ex-minister Patali Champika Ranawaka from legal punishment. ASP Sudat Asmadala is charged with producing a false report to the magistrate's court in order to protect former Minister Patali Champika Ranawaka from legal punishment. Dilum Tusita Kumara is charged with giving false information to court for saying he was behind the wheel at the time of the 2016 accident, while knowing it was in fact Patali Champika Ranawaka who was driving the SUV.
A petition was filed with the Court of Appeal seeking a writ of mandamus be issued on the Acting Inspector General of Police to immediately arrest Vinayagamurthy Muralidharan alias Karuna Amman. The petition was filed by Kaduwela Municipal Councillor Boset Kalahe Pathirana.
The petition was filed based on a statement made by Vinayagamurthy Muralidharan where he claims Karuna Amman, who killed 2,000 to 3,000 army soldiers in one night, is more dangerous than COVID-19. Vinayagamurthy Muralidharan alias Karuna Amman, the Attorney General and the Acting Inspector General of Police were named as respondents in the petition. The petitioner pointed out, based on the statement made by Karuna Amman at an election campaign meeting, it is evident he is a criminal who intentionally committed mass murder. The petitioner seeks for the statement to be considered as a confession and legal action be instituted against Karuna Amman. Kaduwela Municipal Councillor Boset Kalahe Pathirana requests the Court of Appeal to take action against Karuna Amman based on the provisions of the Evidence Ordinance, Penal Code, Prevention of Terrorism Act and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. During the SLPP media briefing today, this was the response received when journalists raised questions on enforcing the law against the controversial statement made by Karuna Amman. Karuna Amman made a statement in public. This is being investigated. Likewise, another controversial statement was made by a female parliamentarian some time ago. We will not interfere in both of these matters. Unlike the previous government, we will not pressurize the police or try to influence them.
On to a story that has been making its rounds throughout the day now. The police has launched a probe into an incident in which the former OIC of the Police Narcotics Bureau Police Inspector Neomal Rangajeeva had obstructed the duties of a photojournalist today.
This was the manner in which Neomal Rangajeeva dragged away the photojournalist to the police post at the premises of the No. 1 Colombo High Court. The photojournalist, who has been identified as Akila Jayawardana, holds an identity card issued by the Department of Government Information confirming his identity as a journalist.
When I was capturing a few photographs, he snatched my camera and grabbed me by my t-shirt and then asked me as to who I am to take his photograph. I then said that I am a journalist and that I work for Maubima newspaper. He then forcefully dragged me to the police post. He removed his jacket and was about to hit me, but he didn't do that. He then instructed civil officials to remove my memory card and then released me. I was badly inconvenienced as a result of what he did. He obstructed my duties.
Police Inspector Neomal Rangajeeva is the first suspect in the case pertaining to the Valikada prison massacre. Charges have been filed at the High Court against Rangajeeva, who is currently out on bail. The police inspector who faces charges is an official who had been given a service transfer. He had arrived at the High Court over a case pertaining to an incident that had taken place during his tenure at the Police Narcotics Bureau. Several media and civic activists expressed their views condemning the conduct of Neomal Rangajeeva.
The seriousness of this is that this incident had taken place at the premises of a main court in Sri Lanka. In the past, we saw how journalists could not fulfill their duties in a proper manner as they were harassed and pressurized continuously. However, we can see that this is resurfacing in a different form after being reduced to a certain extent. The first incident had taken place today. Our request is that these incidents must end now. The country moved silently for 3 or 4 months due to COVID-19. However, this journalist had been threatened within the court premises for taking a photograph. Who is Neomal Rangajeeva? He is facing charges over the massacre at the Valikada prison. If a state official in charge of the country's security conducts himself in this manner within the premises of the court, how will they conduct themselves within the walls of the prison? The time has arisen for the people to decide whether these individuals are guilty or free from the accusations that they face. An ordinary person cannot drag anyone to the police, let alone a journalist. If a mistake had occurred, a complaint can be filed with the police. A person cannot take the law into his hands simply because of his position or for being in the police. Therefore, this is a serious mistake. On behalf of the country, we as a national movement condemn the harassment caused by Neomal Rangajeeva to journalist Akila.
Interest rates offered by banks have dropped following a rate cut imposed by the central bank. How is this situation going to have an impact on the people? Let's have a look.
Central bank figures showed that average interest rates offered by the bank this month stood at 8.48%, dropping from 11.52% recorded in 2019. Economic analyst Dimantha Matthew expressed the following views on the effectiveness of this move.
There is more tendency for a bank to start lending at this point of time. With that, what happens is there is an indirect benefit for the youth. But the part of the youth who actually have lost jobs or have got salary cuts may have a difficulty in obtaining loan. Whoever are employed at the moment and have less debt, this is one of the best opportunities to get a long tenor loan, fix it at this low interest rate because we don't get this type of low interest rates for long periods of time.
Newsfirst inquired on how the reduction of interest rates will influence the issuance of loans by banks.
There is a problem there. Now, basically, would bank want to give credit to the lower level of the segment or even SME? I think the banks will be less willing to take that risk at this moment of time. Again, the lending is likely to go, or the banks will be more willing to lend to these credit-worthy customers. So, slightly larger businesses or let's say the upper segment of community would be the category that banks will again start to look at if they want to lend. So in that situation, it is really questionable whether the middle category businessman or the SME sort of category will be lent to.
Experts believe that people who depend on interest earnings are likely to be worst hit by the reduction in interest rates.
Definitely, if there is someone who is basically living out of interest, of course it's natural that they will be affected because a low interest rate environment is not conducive for them. So then there will be look out for alternative investment opportunities. So in search for that slightly higher risk you will have to take in order to go for that.
The central bank said yesterday that individuals who have already obtained loans have to request banks to apply the revised interest rates on their debt.
What is happening to the economy of the country? These were some of the views expressed by two members of opposing fronts regarding the current economic situation in the country.
We all know that state revenue is insufficient to cover the recurrent expenses of the government, including the payment of salaries for state sector employees and development expenses. State revenue declined drastically during the past few months due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We did not have the ability to obtain new loans and we still don't. So what other option do we have other than printing money? Taverns were closed. Women might be happy with that decision, but the closure of taverns has a direct impact on state tax revenue. Although state revenue declined and all traditional methods of revenue generation came to a standstill, we still had debt commitments to service. However, the government did not default on any of its debt obligations. On top of all of this, the government had to pay a 5,000 rupee allowance, not once but twice to the general public. The government was able to manage the situation well during the past few months. Import expenditure has declined. Export income during the month of April has declined as well. Economists predicted that exports would display a downward trend after April. However, after curfew restrictions were eased, exports showed an increasing trend. That was what Dr. Jayasundra told me personally.
You might remember during the run-up to the presidential election, Vimal Virwangsa read a list of items on stage. They said a bag of items priced at a concessionary rate will be distributed to low-income families after President Gotabaya Rajapaksa comes to power. 6.9 million people in the country were fooled by this and voted for Gotabaya Rajapaksa. When Gotabaya Rajapaksa was brought into power and people were eating milk rice to celebrate his victory, the price of a kilo of rice was 75 rupees. But today a kilo of rice is 120 rupees. A kilo of sugar at that time was 70 rupees, but now it is 145 rupees. A kilo of ulundu that was 350 rupees then is now 850 rupees. The price of papadam has also increased. The government is now using the COVID-19 pandemic as an excuse for everything. Remain silent about the prices of food items. Don't speak about the cost of living. Will that work out? The current government promised to give pregnant mothers a bag of nutrients. Have they provided it? They have not. When the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic began, Bandula Gunnawardana from the government told all of you not to pay loan premiums for a period of 3 months. They said don't pay leasing premiums and said that banks will not question them about it. They said that they had the money required. They said don't pay your electricity bills for 3 months. We have the money for it. They said the people will not have to pay their telephone bills. They said they will teach students through the internet. Isn't this what they said? But remember, none of those will be spoken of after the 5th of August. They are moving towards creating a system of governance that can put pressure on the people as they cannot face the economic crisis that the country is going to face.
A group including members of the Lanka Self-Employed Professionals National Three-Wheeler Federation staged a silent protest in Nugegoda, pointing out that their requests concerning leasing companies have not been fulfilled yet. Akila Jayawardana, who was murdered on the 10th of June at a leasing company in Nugegoda, had served as the president of the federation at that time. The person who instructed the murder to be carried out by all those who were involved in the incident have been brought before the law, provide some form of relief to the children and family of the victim. The interest rates for leasing differ from place to place based on the institutions. That must be given properly. The vehicle owner must be given that agreement relating to that in Sinhalese, Tamil and English. Some people don't know what they sign and eventually fall into trouble. That is what happened. That person didn't know what was in the agreement. He fell into an inconvenient position amidst quarantine regulations. That was the main reason for this problem. The tourism industry has been affected. We cannot expect this industry to recover until next year. Therefore, these people don't have any mode of income. We request the government, if relief has been granted, inform us in writing that it would be granted through banks. Inform us in writing that a grace period would be granted to us without any interest being charged. The Foundation for the Protection of Public Rights convened a media briefing today. This is the electricity bill I received. A total outstanding payable in May was about 5,000 rupees. But by July, this figure has exceeded 9,000 rupees. How did my bill increase by 4,000 rupees? We do not want any concession, but we urge the authorities to reduce this 4,000 rupees. Those responsible for the pricing of our utility bills are not children to make such a mistake and to increase prices as they wish. They have been pressurized in some form to increase prices. We need to look into that. Many have faced the same situation. They must establish a separate unit to receive complaints in this regard.
We have decided to provide some form of concession for the electricity bill payments from March and April. The concession will also include an extension of the repayment period. The disconnection of the power supply will also be prevented during this period. We are trying to provide these concessions to all consumers, and discussions in this regard are still underway. When the usage of power exceeds 60 units, the bill increases. The next threshold is 90 units, where there the price increases. This has been the process of the Ceylon Electricity Board. Officials of the CEB are currently holding discussions with the Treasury to ensure all consumers will receive concessions. There is not much of a demand for consumers to provide 100% concession for their bills.
During a media briefing convened by the SLPP today, former MP Gamini Lokuge said a two-thirds majority is required to address several issues in the country. We are trying to secure a two-third majority for the sake of our country. Why are we asking for a two-thirds majority? President Gotabaya Rajapaksa was elected president after obtaining 6.9 million votes. However, the current IGP is only an acting IGP. He has no power to appoint him as the IGP. The IGP has been sent on compulsory leave. When we try to set up the gantry cranes at the Colombo port, India says that the terminal has been given to them. That is a huge issue. Although Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa intervened, the issue is still there. We need a two-thirds majority to amend the rules and regulations so that the government can protect Sri Lanka's sovereignty.
This was the response from the Samiki Janabala Vekya regarding two-thirds majority. Mahinda Rajapaksa during his 50 years in Parliament served as the President for 10 years, served as the Prime Minister for 3 years and served in several ministerial portfolios for nearly 20 years. Now at the age of 76, he is trying to come to power again and put this country on the right track. He is trying to do this with the support of wrongdoers who threw chili powder at MPs in Parliament and with those who were involved in ethanol scandals. Ranil Wickremesinghe, now 73 years of age, served as the leader of the UNP for 26 years. He gained power twice, but he could not develop this country. So both of these individuals have failed. Gotabaya Rajapaksa will only be able to take the right decisions and implement them in a straightforward manner if the Samaki Janabala Vekya come to power and Sajith Premadasa is elected as the Prime Minister.
There are more than 12,500 families suffering without electricity in the country. But this is not a story about such a village. This is a story about a group from Vialua in the Badulla district who engage in daily life with the help of a candlelight for the past 20 years.
Candlelight seems better than these dim lights we have over the past 15 years. All these years we are faced with such a sad situation. People living in villages such as Tempangua, Yalkumura and Labuhena in the Kandakari Divisional Secretariat of the Vielu electorate in the Badura district have been affected in this manner for many years. The villagers say that they are suffering due to low voltage of electricity during the period when electricity is essential daily from 5 to 9 p.m. There is no electricity after 7 in the evening. I am an advanced level student. When we study at night, we have no sufficient electricity. As a solution to this problem, the old transformer has been replaced with another to increase the capacity, but the problem has not been solved. A child can't read a book or iron clothes. We hardly cook food. We cannot watch news, so we don't know what's happening in the country. None of the officials really care about it. We replaced the previous transformer, but it was of no use. These people, who also faced wild elephant threats, say that many lives will be saved if they get a functioning electricity supply.
With the ongoing political division in some parties of the country, 2 candidates of the United National Party contesting from the Mathura district joined the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna today.
UNP candidates from the Mathura district, B.G. Chandana Priyantha and H.W. Premaratna extended their support to the SLPP following their meeting with the SLPP candidate of the Mathura district, Lakshman Yapa Abeywardena. We spent 25 years in politics under the leadership of Ranil Wickremesinghe, but during these 25 years, no member of the UNP was given an opportunity to further in their political career. There is a powerful MP in the Mathura district. When we were about to sign nominations, this powerful politician was missing. If they don't come forward to give nominations, why is Ranil Wickremesinghe tolerating such politicians so closely? At present, 3 members are struggling to secure the position of deputy leader. The party has divided into 2. The party will divide further.
During
his leadership, democracy was not protected. As long as he remained as leader, no service was rendered to the rural communities. If there is a change in leadership, in my view, Sirikota will see some progress. But if leadership does not change, it will be the end of Sirikota. The constitution put forward in 1978 by Akila Jayawardana said that without the votes from the north and east, one cannot be elected as president. But this changed and we won. Likewise, 2/3 majority will also be secured in ways that no one will imagine. I am not only confident about my seat, but also about my current position. Members of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna continue to trade blows between both sides. All those contesting under our banner don't belong to our party. That is why I am saying to support the candidates of the flower bud to victory. Why do I say that? You might recall how the former president who engaged in a hatred brand of politics took revenge from the Rajapaksas. Why did this person who had so much of hate contest under the flower bud? Think about it. When we form the next government, he will be able to create splits in our party. I have never said not to vote for those with ties to Sri Lanka Freedom Party. That is because I am a good SLFPer. We came here from the SLFP. The true SLFPers are with us. Those who jumped sides are the ones in the other camp. Therefore, we have a duty of creating a country in which Gotabaya Rajapaksa's manifesto called the Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor can be implemented. Give us a 2/3 majority to implement that. Prasanna was saying not to vote for anyone who has even a small link to Maitri. You might remember that our current Prime Minister was appointed to the same post on the 26th of November 2018 by President Maithripala. So is he trying to say that the people must not vote for Mahinda as well? I can write a book on what he has done, including extorting ransom, the attempts he made to obtain ransom, and what he did as the Chief Minister. Minuwangoda has become a narcotic hub. Some police officers had been arrested. Who was the person who had brought down these drugs? It was the brother of the secretary to a prominent minister. An investigation must be carried out to identify all those involved in this. The portfolios of the Investment Promotion Ministry and the Tourism Ministry have been given to a person who has only passed the 8th grade.
The construction of the coal power plant in Untitled had taken place by ignoring protests against the project at that time. The project paved the way to swindle billions of rupees through the dealings involved in purchasing coal for the power plant that posed several problems to the environment. The Supreme Court once said that a corrupt coal purchasing transaction that deprived the country of nearly 1.2 billion rupees had disturbed its conscience. Coal had been purchased from companies with close ties to officials by completely disregarding the tender process, giving room to obtain commissions. The government elected to power in 2015 did not cease to engage in these fraudulent dealings as well. Tenders were awarded to companies with close ties to officials while purchasing coal for the power plant. The power plant had malfunctioned on numerous occasions while both camps took turns to obtain commissions. This has prompted the purchase of power from independent power producers at a higher rate. Ultimately, who is benefited from this? Moves are afoot to construct another power plant in Untitled by showing scant regard to the country's environment policy. Do not vote for corrupt individuals. They are wasting your money. They are destroying the future of you and your children. Let us take a decision about corrupt individuals at least now.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය අපි මේ වෙලාවේ අත්දකිනවා. දැන් අපි බොහොම පරිස්සමෙන් තමයි ආහාරයක් වුණත් ගන්නෙ.
We are all facing the COVID-19 health crisis at present. Even the food we consume it with much caution. Because of COVID-19, everyone is cautious about the clothes they wear, the people they associate. We have learned to wear a face mask and practice social distancing. Everything is done with much consideration. But I would like to ask the public, do we maintain the same level of caution when electing public representatives? The general election will be held on the 5th of August, a day on which the country's future will be handed over to a group of individuals. We elect a group to govern and develop this country. What sort of group will we choose to govern this country? Prior to their election, do you check whether the political candidates have been sanitized and disinfected? Various forms of bacteria and viruses are making the rounds these days. The general public must be wise in ensuring that only the clean and good will be chosen. Refrain from making choices for your personal benefit. Think twice about our future generations. Everyone must think of our country's future and make the right choice intelligently.
අවිච්ච කළ යුතුයි. බුද්ධියෙන් කල්පනා කරන්න, පෞද්ගලික වාසියට අනුව හිතන්න කියන්න එපා. අපේ දරු පරපුරේ අනාගත පරපුරේ පැවැත්ම ගැන හිතන්න. එසේ හිතා දුරදිග දක්නා නුවණින් අනාගත පාලක පිරිස තෝරා ගැනීමට සියලුම දෙනා බුද්ධිමත් විය යුතුයි.
We want a clean parliament. We want a clean government. Think before you vote.
The investigation launched into Police Narcotics Bureau officials accused of smuggling drugs as revealed by the Minuwangoda police is being conducted by the Criminal Investigation Department with several other units. These views were expressed during a media briefing convened at the police headquarters today.
මේ මද්‍රව්‍ය විනාශක කාර්යාංශයේ සිද්ධිය සම්බන්ධයෙන් පොලිස් නිලධාරීන් 18 දෙනෙක්
18 police officers and 3 outsiders, altogether 21 individuals, have been arrested in connection to the incident linked to the Police Narcotic Bureau. 12 of the 18 officers have been remanded. The remaining 6 police officers are being interrogated under detention orders. A new DIG and director has been appointed to the Police Narcotic Bureau. New officers have been appointed as well. We are committed to eradicating narcotics in Sri Lanka. Almost 11 vehicles which were used by these police officers have been seized by the CIT. Investigations against the suspect PNB officers will be expedited and indictments will be filed with court via the Attorney General. The death penalty is the punishment against who are guilty of trafficking drugs. We hope to request the court to enforce the death sentence against any one of them found guilty of trafficking drugs.
පැලක් ඉදිරිපත් කරලා ඒකටත් වැඩිකරුවන් වෙනවා නම් ඔවුන්ට විරුද්ධව හෝ මරණ දඬුවම ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන ලෙස ඉල්ලීම. මේක තමයි අපේ බලාපොරොත්තුව.
Can the government obtain a 2/3 parliamentary majority? Discussions in this regard has taken center stage in the political arena.
2020. අපිට මේ 19 වෙනි ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධනය වෙනස් කරන්න.
We have to change the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. There's a strong need of bringing a new Constitution. For that, we need to form a government that has a 2/3 majority. It is necessary to unite all the people who love the country to do that.
ආදරය කරන සියලුම දෙනා ඒක රාශී කරගැනීමේ අවශ්‍යතාවක් අද පැන නැගී තිබෙනවා.
Without a 2/3 majority, they fixed matches, sold the defense headquarters to the Chinese. What will happen if you give the 2/3 majority to the people who killed 32 journalists? Where is the rocket they launched? Moreover, Udanga Weeratunga, to whom red notices were issued, have stepped up on the political stage.
එනිසා අපේ අරමුණ තියෙන්නේ තුනෙන් දෙක ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා මේක හොඳම.
We see this as a great opportunity to obtain the 2/3 majority. You will be able to see the manner in which several people from the UNP and the Samagi Jana Balawege will cross over to our side before the election.
කාසු වෙනද ඔබට දර්ශන වලින් බලන්න පුළුවන් තව දින කීපයක් ඇතුළත.
They fish for people from Sajid's party and Ranil's party because there is a big friction within the parties. When they obtain the 2/3 majority after buying out people, they will have to act as puppets in their faction. But the people will not give the 2/3 majority when taxes are imposed in this manner.
The perfect surrounding is set for us to obtain the 2/3 majority. The UNP is divided. There are a lot of UNPs who are waiting to join our side. We will not strike deals with the UNP at a time when we have the chance of forming a government with the majority.
Even children know who robbed the central bank. Ranil and Mahendran are best friends. Not only they refrain from questioning Ravi Karunanayaka, he might become an MP in the opposing party. But Sangakkara was taken for questioning before an investigative unit.
මෙවැනි ස්වාධීනයයි කියන කොමිෂන් සභාවල ඉන්න
We ask you to give us the 2/3 majority to remove such corrupt officials from these so-called independent commissions and to serve justice to the people. The state has been paralyzed by the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The stability of the state is what's important to us.
රාජ්‍ය ස්ථාවර භාවය තමයි අපිට ඉතාම වැටින්නේ.
Are there 18 people from Vietmaga from the Kurunagala district? No, the old ones still remain there. It is the UNP that is leading towards the SLPP today. They have ruined this great party in search of power and to oust top leaders.
These so-called popular leaders claim that certain people will win and certain people will lose. Half of them are from the national list. Then they allege us of striking deals. Our deal is with the people. These people are merely messengers. The UNP brought forth this development.
ජනාධිපතිවරණය එතුමාට දුන්නේ දවස් 33යි. දවස් 33න් තමයි මැච් එක ගැහුවේ. අපි හැමදේසම කියන්නේ පස්සෙන්දයින් පස්සේ.
Only 33 days were given to him leading up to the presidential election. He played that match in 33 days. We tell you that we will form a government after the 6th. Also, we will bring the UNP that you dearly loved at your footsteps.
2020.
Views were also expressed in the political arena about the service rendered by the media to the general public. We have witnessed how certain media institutions visit rural villages and help the poor communities by constructing houses and roads. They look into the difficulties of the poorer communities. They inquire about the welfare of the rural people.
අපේ සිරසෙන් කරන ගම්මැද්ද වැඩසටහන මං හිතනවා ගොඩක් දෙනාගේ ජනප්‍රසාදයට පත් වුණා.
The Gammadda project implemented by Silva is being praised by everyone because past governments failed to carry out their duties. Media outlets were compelled to go to the village and inquire about the welfare of villagers. I commend the service rendered by organizations such as Silva for their initiatives such as Gammadda. The service they rendered to this country is immeasurable.
මේ වගේ සිරස වගේ ආයතන රටට ලබා දුන්නේ ඉතාමත්ම අනගි සේවයක් කියලා මම කියනවා.
Founder of the Pathfinder Foundation and former minister says candidates and political parties are yet to present coherent and viable economic strategies to the citizenry for the post-COVID-19 era. Once again, that news item. Milinda Morogoda, the founder of the Pathfinder Foundation and former minister, says candidates and political parties are yet to present coherent and viable economic strategies to the citizenry for the post-COVID-19 era.
The former minister added that when they do address economic issues, many candidates espouse impractical and discredited ideologies that make no economic sense and seek to isolate Sri Lanka from the world at large. He said such inward-looking policies, if implemented, will seriously jeopardize Sri Lanka's economic future and set us back several generations. According to the former minister, our two major challenges now are for us to take precautions against a possible second wave and to restructure our economy. It is against this backdrop that the slogan, and I quote, "It is the economy, stupid," unquote, introduced by James Carville, the political strategist behind Bill Clinton's rise to the US presidency, bears relevance to the ongoing election campaign.
A handing over ceremony of life-saving safety equipment to the Sri Lanka life-saving by the US Embassy in Colombo was held today. Let's take a look at that news item once again. A handing over ceremony of life-saving safety equipment to the Sri Lanka life-saving by the US Embassy in Colombo was held today. Moving on to news from the international arena, polls closed in Singapore's 13th general election after voting hours were extended by 2 hours. Long lines were seen at many polling centres across Singapore amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Singapore has been ruled by the same party since independence, the People's Action Party. A People's Action Party win would carry current Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong to yet another term in office.
The small city-state in one of the handful of countries to hold a vote during the pandemic so far. Strict safety measures were in place with voters wearing gloves and masks and given timed voting slots. Singapore has been one of the worst hit countries in Asia-Pacific region with more than 45,000 cases. As large-scale gatherings and events are deemed as high risk during the pandemic, only a few countries have gone ahead with the national elections during the past month. South Korea voted in April while Serbia went to the polls in late June. In both countries, the voters returned to the incumbent government to power.
We do apologize for the technical difficulties you are facing at present. However, taking a look at your local news once again, a handing over ceremony of life-saving safety equipment to the Sri Lanka life-saving by USA Embassy in Colombo was held today.
Rescue rings, throw bags, helmets and outboard motor engines used for inflatable rescue boats were among the items handed over to the Sri Lanka life-saving by the US Embassy in Colombo. The ceremony was held at the Bentota beach under the patronage of high-end delegation of the US Embassy in Colombo.
It's a symbol of our relationship over the last 70 years, US government to Sri Lankan government and with the people of Sri Lanka. We've always focused on things that make a practical difference in people's lives, whether it's healthcare, disaster management, and now, of course, around issues of life-saving.
More than saving life, now we are talking about drowning prevention activities. We are committed to use these equipment to conduct our training sessions more effectively and efficiently, since we are in a much better and stronger position to make use of technical aspects of these equipment and train more and more people in return.
Sri Lanka Cricket called for tenders seeking a 3-year broadcasting rights agreement on Tuesday. The tender process had been launched for the second time.
Issuing a statement on the 28th of February, Sri Lanka Cricket announced its decision to withdraw the tender invitations issued on the 31st of January this year. The previous decision to call for bids in order to award tenders separately for television, radio and digital rights have been reversed following this move. In its statement, SLC said it felt that it could obtain better value for its television, radio and digital rights by combining the tenders into a single consolidated tender. Officials of Sri Lanka Cricket told the Committee on Public Enterprises that the tender process would be launched with the presence of ICC officials.
දන්න තියෙන දහන්නේ බිඩ් ඕපනින් එකයි ක්ලෝසින් එකයි වෙලාවල් දෙකක දවස් දෙකකදී කරන්න පුළුවන්ද
ICC එකේ ඇන්ටි කරප්ෂන් එකේ සභාපති ICC එකේ කෙනෙකු හෙට උදේ එන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ම අපිට මේක කිව්වේ හෙට උදේට අරින්න ඒගොල්ලන් උදේ ඉන්නවා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඉස්සරහ අපිට අරින්න කියලා
මෙතන ඉන්න ඔක්කොම සීනියර් මැනේජ්මන්ට් එක මේකේ ඉඳලා ICC එකේ රෙප්‍රසෙන්ටටිව් කෙනෙක් අතරට එනවා ඒකම තමයි සජෙස්ට් කරේ හෙට බිඩ් ඕපනින් එක කරන්න කියලා.
The Chief Executive Officer of Sri Lanka Cricket told Newsfirst that officials of the ICC had not been present when the tender process had been launched last Tuesday. Sony Network, which was a bidder for the broadcasting rights, had informed SLC in writing that the initial tender process had been riddled with problems concerning its transparency. They had said that the response given to them by SLC had shown the opaqueness of the tender process as it lacks transparency. Lax Sportel Vision Private Limited and Lax Entertainment and Media Private Limited that submitted bids during the first tender process have been registered in the same address.
With that, we wrap up this Friday's edition of Primetime News. Good night.